Kirk Frost went totally insane and unleashed a surprising assault on Mona Scott. That's right, Mona Scott, the great producer of Love and Hip Hop, was targeted by none other than Kirk Frost in a dramatic, jaw-dropping moment that nobody saw coming. How did we go from a routine reality show moment to a full-blown scandal? What prompted Kirk Frost, renowned for his generally calm attitude, to lose it so completely? Was this simply a pent-up rage, or is there a deeper, more twisted tale behind it? You won't believe how rapidly things escalated in the heat of the moment when Mona Scott found herself brutally crashing with a set pillar, leaving her severely shaken. The event instantly went viral, provoking arguments, emotions, and extensive conjecture. Fans, journalists, and even other celebs have all chimed in on the dramatic confrontation. So, what's really going on behind the scenes? Why did Kirk Frost snap, and what's next for Mona Scott? Trust me, you don't want to miss this. The stunning truth behind the fight is about to be exposed. Stay tuned for all the insane facts that are still shaking the industry. The world of reality TV is no stranger to drama. But what happened on the set of Love and Hip Hop was nothing short of explosive. Kirk Frost, a man known for staying calm in the heat of the moment, suddenly broke, and when he did, it wasn't just any petty argument. What happened on that set was a clash of titans, a terrifying clash that no one could have imagined. So what caused this dramatic conflict, and what does it signify for everyone involved? It all began with a decision that sent shockwaves across the entire Love and Hip Hop universe. Mona Scott, the iconic producer of the immensely popular show, made the courageous step to remove Kirk Frost and his wife Rashida from the show. If you know anything about reality TV, you'll know that these decisions are never taken lightly. When Mona Scott, the mastermind behind the scenes, decides that a storyline needs to change, it's not simply a minor shift, it's a big recalibration of the entire dynamic. Mona's move was regarded by many as a huge power play, one that would influence the direction of the program. But for Kirk Frost, this wasn't just a professional setback, it felt like personal assault. And we all know Kirk Frost isn't someone who handles personal slates very well after years of being part in the show and dealing with the turmoil surrounding his marriage. His role, and his image being replaced by Mona Scott, was the breaking point. It was as if the weight of all the tension that had built up over the years suddenly shattered. The show's producers and even the audience were taken aback by the conclusion that Kirk Frost wasn't simply another cast member, was a crucial element in the continuing story. His volatile relationship with Rashida, full of ups and downs, betrayal and reconciliation, had kept viewers on the edge of their seats. So dismissing him and Rashida was a significant gamble for Mona Scott, losing trust in the show's ability to generate drama, or was this just a ploy to shake things up? Either way, Kirk Frost wasn't going down without a fight. As the news of their dismissal spread, fans were instantly divided. Some saw it as Mona Scott expressing her power and doing what was best for the show. Some think it was a horrible mistake, alienating long-standing fans who enjoy the chemistry between Kirk and Rashida. But no matter how you looked at it, one thing it was evident: Kirk Frost was furious, and this wasn't the type of fury that would be brushed off soon. You could feel the tension rising, and it wasn't only in front of the cameras. This was a profound personal hit, and Kirk Frost was not going to let it slip softly now. Let's not forget the long history of Kirk Frost on Love and Hip Hop. His reputation on the program has always been a bit of a roller coaster. From his big infidelity incident with Mary Jane to his tempestuous marriage to Rashida, he had previously been at the heart of some of the show's most dramatic moments. And let's face it, Kirk Frost was no stranger to controversy. Whether it was his personal actions, his relationship with Rashida, or Heisengate, in some of the messiest situations, Kirk had always been the sort of man who produced drama wherever he went. But this was different. This wasn't just a planned scene or a staged dispute. This was genuine and raw. Mona Scott had just pushed things to a whole new level. The choice to remove Kirk Frost and Rashida was a bold one. But the main concern on everyone's minds was how Kirk Frost would react. Could the brand continue without one of its most iconic couples? And, more importantly, what did this signal for the show's future? For weeks leading up to the event, Kirk Frost had been visibly upset. Rumors swirled behind the scenes, and whispers of a showdown with Mona Scott began to. Everyone knew something was building. It was only a matter of time until that simmering fury spilled over into something greater. And that's exactly what occurred on that fateful day. Tensions reached a boiling point, and what was once an unpleasant but manageable debate escalated into something far worse. The cameras were running, the crew was on edge, and there was no going back. So, what happened exactly? How did it develop? to the point that Kirk Frost was physically attacking Mona Scott. You'll be startled to find out exactly how intense this confrontation got. The moment that shook the whole business wasn't just Kirk Frost lashing out, but everything that led up to the tensions, build-up, and history all came to a head in one of the most stunning incidents ever captured on video, and now we'll break it all down for you. Stay tuned because the second part of this astounding narrative shows precisely what went down when the cameras were rolling, and the actual nature of Kirk and Mona Scott's violent relationship comes to light. Now that we know the backdrop, let's go further into what really happened on that fateful day. Stunned the love and hip-hop community and catapulted Kirk Frost into an instant viral phenomenon for all the wrong reasons. What occurred that day went beyond a petty quarrel or a heated exchange of words. What anybody could have imagined. The world was watching, and what they observed was something no one could have prepared for. The tension in the air was tremendous. You could feel it as soon as the team set up the cameras. And everyone knew something was about to go down behind the scenes. Rumors were spreading that Kirk Frost was about to face Mona Scott. People were on edge since the decision to remove Kirk and Rashida off the program had generated a ripple effect that would only increase, but no one anticipated it to explode in the manner it did. It was just another ordinary day on set, or so it appeared. But it only took a few offhand comments for Kirk to crack Mona Scott, doing her normal thing, running the show and pulling the strings behind the scenes. But she wasn't prepared for the storm that was about to hit her. The event that set everything off was one that no one saw coming, sources close to according to the production crew. Kirk Frost was already on edge before to the encounter. His rage had been growing, and he felt betrayed by Mona Scott's choice to remove him from the program. Initially, Kirk tried to keep his cool, but he didn't want to cause any controversy. But the more he thought about it, the angrier he became. After all, Kirk Frost had been with the show for years, helping build it into what it was, and for Mona Scott to just cast him aside like this, it felt like a slap in the face, and no one, not even the great Mona Scott, could take the place of Kirk Frost in this reality TV world. So when Mona Scott contacted Kirk to discuss his departure from the program, the conversation rapidly became ugly. It was intended to be a quiet conversation, a professional exchange of words. But instead it became an emotional explosion. Sources reported that Kirk wasn't holding back. And when Mona tried to rationalize her choice, it was like a spark was ignited. The longer she talked, the more Kirk felt the pain of betrayal. And that's when things went off the rails. According to one crew member who desired to remain anonymous, Kirk began ranting. "You think you can simply shove me out like I'm nothing? I built this show with my blood, sweat, and tears, and you can't simply pull me out and expect me to walk away like it's nothing." His voice was rising, quivering with wrath. Mona Scott, generally the controlled and strategic brain, was caught off guard by Kirk's anger, but it wasn't the only surprise. In the heat of the moment, Kirk Frost appears to have struck out violently. Kirk apparently slammed Mona Scott backward, shocking everyone on set. This wasn't simply a touch or a casual push, but an overwhelming force that drove Mona tripping across the set, which had before been filled with friendly discussion and controlled mayhem, became silent in an instant. People couldn't believe what they had just witnessed. Kirk Frost had attacked the lady who had been behind his success in love and hip-hop. But that's not all. The real kicker came when Mona Scott, attempting to regain her equilibrium, smashed into a pillar on set. The loud crack of her head hitting the metal frame sent a shockwave through the entire team. It was as if time paused down for a second, resonated through the stage, and everyone froze for a single second. No one knew what to do. Was Mona Scott okay? Had she been gravely harmed? It took a moment for things to calm, but in that moment, Kirk Frost showed no remorse. According to reports, instead of trying to help Mona, he simply stood there, seething. His fury had totally taken over, and he wasn't thinking about anything but his own shame and agony. The astonishment on his face was clear, and the whole team was confused of how to respond. Many raced to check on Mona Scott, who had clearly been disoriented by the impact. Fortunately, Mona did not suffer any significant injuries, but the mental and emotional toll of the tragedy was evident. Someone like Mona, who had built an empire on being cool, calculated, and in control, this was a direct assault on her power. Kirk's outburst wasn't just a personal attack on her. It was a challenge to her authority, which was a thing that couldn't be ignored. Social media exploded in the aftermath of the incident. Fans, media outlets, and even other celebrities weighed in on the matter. People couldn't believe what they had just watched. type of publicity stunt, or was Kirk Frost genuinely out of control? As the film of the confrontation surfaced, the public's reaction was instantaneous. Some agreed with Kirk, stating that he had every right to be upset, after others sided with Mona Scott, accusing Kirk of unprofessionalism and insulting the person who had given him his platform. But the broader question remained: what did this represent for the future of love hip-hop? Could the show survive this scandal? Was Kirk Frost's conduct an indication of bigger issues behind the scenes? And how would Mona Scott respond? This wasn't just a little blip. It was a major public relations catastrophe that have long-term ramifications for everyone involved, and the answers to those concerns were still unclear in the aftermath. In the world of reality TV, anything can happen, but this was beyond anything. Anyone could have guessed the dramatic confrontation was just the beginning of a much larger and more complex narrative that would unravel in the coming weeks. As we wait to witness the fallout of this major controversy, one thing is certain: things will never be the same on Love and Hip Hop. Stay tuned for part 3 of this tale, where we'll dig deeper into the ramifications from Kirk Frost's startling attack and what it means for the future of the show and everyone involved. As the dust settles following the startling incident between Kirk Frost and Mona Scott, the real question is what happens next. This controversy isn't just a little blip on the radar of reality TV. It's the type of occurrence that might affect whole landscape of love and hip-hop and perhaps destroy careers in its aftermath. After all, this wasn't simply a spat between two cast members. It was a full-blown attack that was documented on tape and posted throughout social media, examined by millions. So where does this narrative go from here? What happens to Kirk Frost, Mona Scott, and even the Love and Hip Hop brand itself after such a big public scandal? The repercussions is still happening, and in the globe, there are no simple solutions on reality TV. But one thing is certain: the effects of this terrible incident are far from done. If you don't completely comprehend the significance of this clash, let's break it down. First and foremost, Mona Scott found herself in the limelight in a way she never expected. Known for her calm demeanor and smart intellect, Mona had created a reputation as the queen of reality TV, but this episode threatened to ruin that carefully created image. Following the confrontation, Mona Scott was not only confronted with the physical and emotional ramifications of the incident, but she also had to figure out how to salvage her. She had been renowned for years as the brain behind some of the largest reality TV franchises in history, but her image had just taken a massive hit. The fundamental foundation of her success, her ability to stay in control and keep things smooth and to choreograph drama in front of the cameras, was now being questioned. Despite being a veteran of the field, Kirk's actions created a hazardous precedent, and it was evident that the aftermath would not be simple. To manage the legal implications, but beyond the public PR nightmare, Kirk Frost might face significant legal penalties. After all, the confrontation wasn't simply a petty quarrel between colleagues, it was a violent attack. While Mona Scott was lucky not to sustain any significant injuries, the fact remains that Kirk Frost physically assaulted Mona, opening the door for prospective legal action. Legal experts began wondering that Mona Scott might pursue Kirk Frost to court for assault, especially because the confrontation was videotaped and witnessed by millions of people in numerous countries. Physical altercations that are documented on camera can be used as proof in court. Mona may decide that bringing a lawsuit against Kirk is the best course of action to protect herself and send a message to the business that such behavior will not be accepted. Of course, Kirk Frost might claim that his acts were an emotional outburst caused by the stress and anger he had been under since being pulled off the program. But legal experts believe that this wouldn't. The fact that he physically harmed someone on production may still result in charges, regardless of whether they were deliberate. If Mona Scott decides to take legal action, lead to a protracted and costly court fight. This would not only hurt Kirk's career but could also affect the entire Love and Hip Hop franchise. The last thing producers and the network want is for this controversy to be tied up in legal procedures, especially when the show's image is already on the line. Implications for the show. Speaking of the show's reputation, what does all this mean for Love and Hip Hop? The series has been a fixture in the reality TV world for years, but this incident has created a new chapter in the program's history. Can Love and Hip Hop rebound from this issue, or will this signal the beginning of its decline? The ramifications for the show is just as on the one hand, this type of drama is what reality TV feeds on. The more intense the conflict, the more eyeballs are on the show. Nevertheless, The issue here is that the violence involved went too far. This wasn't simply a manufactured fight or an overthought argument, this was an attack. And if the network continues to defend Kirk Frost and Mona Scott after such an occurrence, it might send a bad message to fans. On the other side, the producers of Love and Hip Hop may decide that it's time for a change. They could conclude that having these contentious personalities on the show isn't worth the long-term harm to the brand. This event might lead to Kirk Frost's permanent departure from the program, and Mona Scott's employment could also be in peril if the issue continues to grow, although there's always the potential that the producers will play into the drama and utilize it to build more hype for the next season. After all, controversy sells. If they can make the scandal a part of the plotline for the following season, it might lead to bigger ratings and more viewership, but it comes at a cost, both to the image of the program and to the persons involved. Public reactions and fan split. Social media played a significant part in the aftermath of this controversy, was instantaneous, with fans, celebs, and media outlets joining in to offer their opinions on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. Hashtags like hashtag Kirk Frost against Mona Scott and hashtag Love and Hip Hop scandal began trending, and fans were quick to take sides. Some fans supported Kirk Frost, claiming that he had every right to be unhappy, arguing that Mona Scott had harmed him by pulling him off the program and empathizing with his displeasure, while others were outraged by his violent behavior and believed that there was no explanation for placing his hands on Mona Scott. They urged for him to be expelled from the program and demanded that justice be delivered. And there were many who were just. They didn't care who was right or wrong. They simply wanted to see the turmoil develop. These fans claimed that this type of drama was precisely what made Love and Hip Hop so interesting, and they couldn't wait to see how producers would handle the consequences. The fan base was divided, and while some took sides, others simply sought answers. Was this just another example of reality TV going too far? Or was it something deeper? Could the Love and Hip Hop ever recover from the controversy? Or was this the beginning of the end? What happens next in the saga? The world is waiting for an official statement from Mona Scott and Kirk Frost. Will Mona Scott seek legal action against Kirk Frost, or will she try to bury the event and move on? Will Kirk be dismissed from the program, or will he be permitted to stay as a cast member? Can Love and Hip Hop salvage its reputation after this PR nightmare? These are all questions that fans and media outlets are anxious to see answered. But one thing is certain: the consequences from this shocking incident is far from done. The industry is watching, the public is waiting, and the future of both Kirk Frost and Mona Scott remains unknown. As this terrible drama continues to develop, we want to hear from you, our viewers, about Kirk Frost's violent attack on Mona Scott. Was it an outpouring of frustration? He went too far. Should Mona Scott take legal action, or should this be swept? Drop your ideas beneath the rug. Comments below. We'd want to hear where you stand in this intense drama, and don't forget to like this video. Please leave a comment to tell us what you're astonished by, really think, and subscribe to remain stay up to know on all the juicy, scandalous stories as they develop. Believe me, I don't want to miss what occurs next in this reality TV catastrophe. Keep tuned for more breaking news. The situation isn't over yet. See you in the next one.